Hi kids, it's Just Be the Clown. Justin Wright here, former producer of Dance O Dance, which has been off of the air for over a year now. And I've been doing a couple of videos about the early days. Dance O Dance was a free, live, hour-long, public access, all ages dance show out of Thurston County, Washington, Olympia Lacey Tumwater, Channel 22. Started in 1997 and went for up until recently, up until like altogether 25 years under various producers and different configurations like that. And I'm trying to get back with some of that creativity and reflecting on how it happened and maybe unique set of circumstances that combined to make it possible. So let me say that I went to the Evergreen State College in Olympia, and it was my third college. And they do not have letter grades. They have uh, narrative evaluations, a faculty evaluation, a self-evaluation, and into a scenario like that, when a bunch of creative people come together and do independent contracts in a group, in a cluster, there's not the same sort of pressure of failing. Although there may have been academic components, books to read, papers to write, analyses to perform on this, media studies, as it were. We got together to have fun and be entertaining and educational and show each other things. Infectious Waste Theatre is what it was. And it was started because of a friend of mine, Noah Sule, who I had met as a 18 and 19-year-old when I was working at Nature's Fresh Northwest Deli in Lake Oswego, about a block from where I work now. I was a dishwasher and a prep cook, and he worked at the front of house. And we had some adventures together, and then I went off on some vision quests and left the country and went to Portland State for a while, and then eventually wound up back in Olympia at Evergreen, and there was Noah. And Noah convinced me and several others that we could write our own ticket. We could do a college credit level class sort of thing, independent contracts, make a TV show. He showed me there's a TV station here, there's a studio basically, and it's all wired in to all the campus housing. And so we'll put on a show, and everybody who goes to college here will watch it. And I agreed, and several others agreed. And the premise behind it was that we were trapped in the sub-basement 6, and we were using the TV show as a way to contact the outer world. And one of the first things we did was he wanted to reverendize us. He was a reverend in the Universal Life Church, and the thought was that if we were all reverends, we could each perform the last rites for one another. No matter who died, someone would be there to perform the last rites. And so that was kind of a narrative conceit and a reason for us to get together and for him to print out a bunch of certificates saying that we were now reverends. I believe out of that group, I'm the only one that took that somewhat to heart and seriously engaged in formal spiritual services of some sort or another. Thanks to the Unitarian Universalists and the Unity Church, I've had the opportunity on half a dozen times to go to the pulpit and speak to the people and give the Sunday message, generally on topics of how the cosmic giggle interacts with your life and how laughter is a spiritual expression, etc. And I've also had the honor of performing two marriages. One was a pair of clowns, and I was also dressed as a clown, and that included a pie in the face at the culmination of the ceremony. And the other one was a remarriage. A couple had divorced and changed their mind. And I guess I was competent enough to, give them a do-over. So I owe a lot to Reverend Noah for starting the ball rolling, and does not have a very large digital footprint. But you can find, if you Google Noah Sule, an article that he co-authored in 2001 about a mushroom he found in Hawaii that would spontaneously induce orgasms in women. And so that's worth doing a little bit of research to see there. Thanks to Noah. It was his idea that we conclude a lot of our episodes with the TV smashing. So he had a number of TVs that we broke with baseball bats or whatever. Kind of a rebellion, an irony built into it. Anyway, so there was Noah who got a bunch of us together. There was Chris Smith, and is a very impressive musician, composer, and very early on in the process, I want to say like the second day of filming, I was behind the camera gesticulating and doing floor manager type work, although in a dancey way, kind of like be more excited. I was trying to do something. And Chris later said, I want to see more of that. And so I weaseled dance into every scene I could, places where it might not have belonged. And, but to that effect, it went on to inspire me when it came time to make Dance O Dance. One of the things he had written, one of the musical pieces, was called The Boy Who Cried Wolf to Himself, which was a rocking guitar anthem that was our theme song for Infectious Waste Theatre. And he had created a video montage of a kind of apocalyptic anarchy, pop culture, the Shuttle Challenger explosion, and war scenes, and then there was like a slideshow of popular characters, the Beatles and Nixon, and then there was album covers, and it concluded with a whole bunch of nuclear bomb footage going off and maniacal laughing. And over the course of the shows that we produced each week, I then edited off snippets and put them into the opening montage. And they were as pieces that had movement in them. And gradually, as the seasons and the years passed, it became like all dance footage. I basically co-opted the anarchy, the Armageddon stuff, and just said, okay, well, it's fun movement dancing. That's what I'm all about. And when it came time to do Dance O Dance, I had basically the bones of a new montage, which I then swapped the music out for, and then could talk about that in an upcoming episode. And he also, Christopher Michael Smith, also cast me as the character Wig in his feature film, Flip of a Coin, which was a marvelous piece of a dreamlike scenario. And we had a lot of fun with that. And I miss him, and I want to see more of that and hear more of that, Chris. I have a lot of other people to thank and talk about. When I first got to Evergreen, my first roommate in Modland, the modular housing duplexes, was Paul Juergens. And he's an excellent musician that I've kept up with over the years, chatted with just the other night, and still produces, creates, writes, records music, and as not to a large of an audience as perhaps he had when I was using all of his tracks in the first year or so of Dance O Dance, like to be able to have danceable instrumentals like grindoli and whatnot, and how he introduced me to the 4-track, and that came in useful making Butoh soundtracks. Butoh dance is a whole another video I have to do about the influence of that on Dance O Dance and me as a person. But Paul Jurgens, um, Joe Mello was a part of this, and I appreciated his attention to detail and his humor and acting and so on. And he went on to become a stop motion animator for Robot Chicken. It may be the most successful person that I will list on this, and congratulations to you. Look at your humble beginnings and think of us fondly. He was dear friends with my dear friend Ray Goring, who I saw just a week or so ago, who works professionally in video directing for corporations, big ones up in the Seattle area. You've heard of them. They're responsible for lots of things, but so he does commercial videos. There's a number of reasons I mention him. He was not a student at the time. In fact, I believe that he can tell you the story of how he got a talking to at one point by faculty, where he had to correct them and go, "I'm not, you can't do anything to me. I'm not a student here." We could count on him for angry rants. But he was our liaison over at TCTV. He worked there, and we went from just having viewers on campus cable, if any, to viewers in the greater Thurston County area. And part of the big talk that had us thinking we might export it to faraway places like Dayton and Maui and Durban, South Africa. Not much of that exporting of infectious waste actually happened, but the sentiment was there, and the thought was the thought was ambitious, and it's worth considering how to reach a larger audience with your stuff. He and I have had in the recent past great talks about the therapeutic effects of dance, and clown as agent of chaos. From that time period, he's the only one that actually participated in the Zoom version that happened here in 2020 and 2021. But one of the main reasons why I would mention him and credit him for the creation of Dance O Dance is because he referred Nancy Seals to me. After I graduated in '96, Evergreen allowed me to continue my work study in media services, doing audio and video reinforcement and such. And I was down at the control room one time, and the phone rang, either in master control and passed over to me. I'm not sure how or all these things came about, but it was Nancy Seals, and she had asked Ray over at TCTV if he knew of a good director, and he gave her my name. And I said to her that I'm not certified at TCTV to run the equipment. And she said, "But you were going to anyway, weren't you?" And I went along with it, and I went down there and I got certified, and then I directed her show. One of the first things they tell you is if you're thinking about having a show, you cannot produce, direct, and star in it all at once. I tried to run back and forth when I had my own show, and push the button for a while, run a camera for a while, go dance for a while, and repeat. But Nancy didn't want to push the button. She wanted to be the host of the show, and that's fine. A lot of people do. They have an idea, and her idea was a live psychic call-in show, with the addition of the cards of destiny, where you would be given a card based on your birthday that would mean something. I'm the 10 of diamonds, the blessed, and I've always remembered that, and I guess I should feel lucky. This is what it is. Good things will happen to me. Okay, I feel lucky. Worked with Nancy on her show for a year or so, one of her guests was Lillian Moustelier. And then she decided to have her own show, A Visit with the Person of High Strangeness, which she still produces and just put out her predictions for 2023 show. Um, Similar to Nancy and Elaine Smitha's Evolving Ideas, the late Elaine Smitha, whose show I also directed for a while, they would have guests on a wide variety of perhaps metaphysical topics, social justice, whatnot. It could be structured water, it could be, chemtrails, or it could be crop circles, which in that case was something that I was impressed with. Uh, made a profound impact on me. I wound up getting a crop circle tattoo thanks to Lillian. Lillian had angel investors that paid for us to fly out to Laughlin, Nevada one year for the International UFO Congress, and we were judges on their film contest, and everybody agreed that the crop circle one was the best one. Um, I wound up writing the foreword to one of her books that explains some of this stuff. Um, she was the one guest on the one episode that had only one guest of Dance O Dance. So it was her dancing for the hour, and briefly interrupted and joined by me running from the control room to dance for part of a minute perhaps, and then running back to press the buttons. She also sold me my first car. Um, People might not know that I never had a driver's license until I was 30 years old. So in 1999, I'd been producing Dance O Dance for 2 years without a car, and I was working at a job that was driving me crazy. It was the graveyard shift far across town from where I lived. I would ride my bicycle a few miles, catch a bus, stop at Lillian's house for a cup of coffee, and then ride my bike for a few more miles. And it got to be December and snowy and slippery and awful that I finally asked the universe to hook me up with a car, and Lillian had one for me. And I called him Kenny, as in Kenny Make It, and you killed Kenny. Um, so thanks to Lillian for the car and being such a good participant uh, that one time. Um, Other influences around that time were the fact that I was a radio DJ in spring and April of '97, which was just a few months prior to Dance O Dance starting. I started a show on Chaos, and as per tradition, the slot you're given as a new DJ is 2 in the morning, and you can go 2 to 4, or you could stay until the morning person shows up at 6. But if you ever needed new music, become a radio DJ at an independent station where they promote, you know, indie labels. And there's just so much that you've never heard of and you couldn't have heard of. And it was a great influence on the soundtrack, the feel of Dance O Dance, especially in those early days, and that would be a whole another program. Um, and Similarly, another program will be the influence of Kagame Buto, Buto, the postmodern Japanese dance form that I studied at Evergreen and beyond, was a big influence. And you can find videos about that on my channel as well. Actually, the most popular videos are the Buto videos. So I want to talk about that. Uh, Thank you for tuning in. I have to do 2 more videos this week, and so they will branch off into those other topics. It's a pleasure. Click like and subscribe.